Jumbo brothers, today we got a serious video, no hype, no jokes, straight to business. You know how I feel about all these life hacks on YouTube. Those videos where they show you how to survive in the forest. The person digs themselves a hole, makes fire by rubbing sticks together. Basically, you get what I mean. I've been through tons of that content myself, and honestly, most of it, well, let's just say, it doesn't really help you in a real situation. So today I want to make a video that will actually be useful, as informative as possible. I will be talking a lot, explaining things, and at the same time I will be showing you, illustrating everything I'm talking about, so it's clear for you. If you came here for action, sorry, but you won't find that in this video. What we are going to talk about is survival priorities. This is an important topic because when you end up in a real situation, you need to clearly understand what to do first, what second, and what can actually wait. That is what we will talk about right now. We can identify 5 main survival priorities: fire, water, food, shelter, and navigation. I listed them not in the order of importance, just named them. And it would seem, what is so difficult about this? Ranking them by importance, by necessity. But actually, this is where all the art of survival lies. Because everything will depend on the situation you find yourself in. The simplest example, the desert. Here, most likely, it's obvious, your main priority will be water, because there is no water in the desert. Seems clear enough. Or here is another example. A person gets lost in the forest in winter. He has cigarettes and a lighter, but no equipment, and he needs to spend the night in the forest. Obviously, first of all, he needs to think about shelter. Okay, mountains. What priority would you put first in the mountains? Probably shelter, right? Because there is a lot of wind, bad weather, it's cold. But this isn't obvious at all. Let me explain why. In the mountains, at altitudes above 3 kilometers, when you breathe, moisture evaporation during breathing increases 4 times. Can you imagine? 4 times. And this means that you lose a lot of moisture just by breathing. And if you don't know about this future of mountains, if you don't have experience with this, then the interesting thing is that you won't feel at all, but you are lacking water. And there is a very high probability that dehydration will set in. I would actually say that the art of survival is precisely about correctly determining priorities, putting them in the right sequence in each specific situation. That is what it's all about. You also need to consider what equipment you have. In other words, to survive, you need to prioritize correctly and consider what you have with you. Equipment is basically, in some situation, 100% of survival success. That is why I can't stand these guys who say you can survive in the forest with just a knife or something like that. In a real situation, equipment will always be the deciding factor. I have been through different situations myself, so trust me, it doesn't work any other way. It just doesn't. Here is why this is important to understand. Because when you know what you have with you, you can plan your actions. That determines which priority you will put first. Let's look at the first priority, navigation. I use 2 navigation tools. First is a classic compass and a watch with GPS navigation. These are 2 pieces of equipment that I always take with me. Doesn't matter of how long my hike is, familiar terrain or not, I always have them with me. Very often people get into a situation that they think, yeah, it's simple here, familiar forest, I know everything. But in reality, they go several kilometers deep into the forest and then a rescue team is searching for them. Of course, the third element of navigation is a map. But to use a map, you need to have certain skills. So, if you just took a map with you but don't know how to read it, don't know how to determine azimuth, can't determine distance to objects, basically you don't have skills, then it will be very difficult for you. That is why modern technology comes to our aid in the form of GPS navigation in watches. Let's take a closer look at the compass and watch. I chose this particular compass because it's a very reliable brand, Suunta. And what I like This compass attached great to a watch strap. The clasp on the compass is perfectly designed for a watch strap, which I really like. As a result, I get information from both the watch and the compass, meaning I can compare it at any moment and figure out where I am. Because you see, GPS doesn't always work perfectly, and I believe that a mechanical compass is also necessary. It's relevant even in our time. Meaning you always need to have some reliable way to control information. I wear the watch on my right hand, because see these buttons? It turns out that when walking, they don't press into my arm. If you put the watch on the left hand, the buttons press into your skin, and it's uncomfortable if you're going a long distance. So I always put the watch on my right hand, and it's maximally comfortable for me. I will make a separate video about the watch, we won't talk about it right now. Let's get back to the point. Very often navigation can be exactly the first survival priority. Because let's say you got lost in the forest. Will they search for you or not? Most likely they will. But there might be a situation where you wandered literally 3-5 kilometers from a settlement, and in principle you can help yourself. Then, without navigation tools, you have big problems. But if you are prepared in advance and took a compass or watch with you, then you can get out on your own. And you don't need to build shelter, start a fire, look for water, food, and so on. So the rule is very simple. Always study the territory, the terrain, where you're going to. Take navigation tools, because without them, it will be extremely difficult for you to get out of a situation when you are lost. That's simple. Let's move to the next survival priority – shelter. Again, I remind you, I am considering survival priorities not by their importance, but simply in random order. You will need to consider the situation you are in each time and the equipment you have. I am categorically against the approach when people show in videos what they make shelter using branches or dig some kind of hole, basically use improvised materials. I am definitely in the position that you need to take a tent, sleeping bag, warm mat with you. Basically, a full set of equipment. Let me explain my position now. Look, study the equipment of any tactical group that goes out on a mission. You will see that the guys always take either one-person tent or bivy bags. They always take a sleeping mat and sleeping bag with them. Always. If this is the case, if even the most professional military do this, then probably we, ordinary tourists, should follow their example. Consider that these people are the most prepared guys. They are capable of surviving in harsh and difficult situations. Well, even they take shelter equipment with them. Here is my sleep system that I always use. Also, I know different ways to make shelter. But why would I do that if I had the opportunity to take equipment with me? There always has to be a balance here between the load you are carrying and the distance you are traveling. What equipment is absolutely necessary and what is only needed for creating additional comfort. The choice is always yours, but you need to make it wisely. Now I will tell you in detail about the equipment I use as shelter. That doesn't mean I take all the equipment with me always, but today I will show everything I have and tell you everything I consider correct regarding shelter. The first thing I always take with me is a small sitting pad. Maybe it doesn't relate to shelter, but trust me, it's a super convenient thing. I can put it anywhere and immediately sit down, whatever on a wet spot or a dirty spot, but my pants won't get dirty and I will be comfortable. The next piece of equipment that I very often take with me is a hammock. I had the simplest one, the cheapest one. It weighs practically nothing, doesn't take up space in the backpack, so I advise everyone to use a hammock and take it with you. Because of my back problems, I can't sleep in a hammock, meaning I can consider hammock as a sleeping place. But nothing stops me during a short stop from quickly setting up a hammock and resting a bit. As a rule, I take a break during lunch, about an hour, if I have a full hiking day. And I calmly spend this time in the hammock. Besides the fact that it's comfortable to rest in a hammock, you can relax your legs and back, there is another important thing. If the surface around is wet and you need to sit somewhere, settle down, then it's much more convenient to use a hammock than to lay out some tent or mat on the ground. Meaning, this is again a pure element of comfort and nothing more. But I make the decision that it's better I take a hammock with me, even though this can be considered extra weight in the backpack. But it will be more convenient for me. I won't get dirty on wet surfaces, on wet ground. My hammock doesn't have a mosquito net, simply because I don't really need it here. I don't sleep in it. I just temporarily spend a little time in it during rest. But hammocks come in all different kinds, made of all different materials, from very expensive to ones like mine. Basically consider, do you even need a hammock? I think it's a useful piece of gear, and it should be used. Another important point about the hammock is at what height you will hang it. If you hang it correctly, then it's convenient for you to reach things that are below. Meaning you can use the hammock as a chair and calmly take something from the ground. In principle, about the hammock, its proper setup, I made a separate video. You can go to the channel and watch. So let's move on. Next, let's talk about tarps. I believe you have no business being in the forest if you don't have a tarp with you. That's my simple opinion, because you never know what the weather will be. If the weather turns bad and it starts raining, you will get wet. That's absolutely guaranteed. On the other hand, a tarp is convenient to use when it's still sunny, to create shade and hide in that shade. It protects from wind, from snow. Well, meaning it's one of the most important pieces of equipment. Now, how to hang a tarp. I believe there are two main ways. These videos, where they show 25 options for setting up a tarp, they make up complications out of nowhere. Meaning, I think that's all complete nonsense. There are really two working methods. The first is like now. I raise to the head level, and then I can, if I want, set up a hammock under this tarp. If I want, I can set up a tent. So this is a quick option. Nothing special needed. 4 guy lines, a rig line, and it's ready. 5 minutes and it's all set. And you need to understand this thing. The tarp is the kind of equipment you won't be able to replace with any materials in the forest. Meaning it's like footwear. If your boots get torn, then you're unlikely to be able to replace them with anything in the forest. All you can do is try to somehow sand them up, somehow repair them. But making a real replacement for boots in the forest is impossible. With a tarp, it's exactly the same situation. No branches, leaves, moss or anything like that will ever replace a proper tarp for you. Never. All these videos about how you can make a shelter, this is all temporary shelter. This is all single use. It will leak in any case. It will create difficulties for you in any case. Wherefore, a tarp is an absolutely irreplaceable thing. And here is the second option, when I stretch it somewhere at chest level. In this case, the tarp covers me not only from rain, but also from wind. Because it reaches the ground on one side, and the other part I stretch out like a veranda. If the weather is really very bad, I understand there will be strong wind, heavy snow, then I won't make a veranda. I will leave it just as it is, meaning I will secure the tarp lower so that both sides of the tarp reach the ground, cover me as much as possible from the wind. This is an important point, because when the weather changes, you need to change the way to set up the tarp too. If everything calm, weather is normal, you can make a veranda, create space. But if something serious starts, wind, snow, when the priority changes, you need maximum protection. Usually I make a veranda using trekking poles, but now today I didn't take them with me. So I just take paracord and stretch the paracord to the nearest trees. This way I secure 2 corners of the tarp in different directions, at a level slightly lower than the rig line. Meaning you can improvise with what you have. Trekking poles, that's convenient, yes, but if you don't have them, no problem. You use trees, rope, that is what I am talking about. Here is the veranda I made, and the whole point is that there is enough space here to make a small fire, set up a tent, well, or again you can hang a hammock. That's why I say these two methods are the most optimal methods for setting up a tarp. That's how I do it, and it's real work in any conditions. You know, I often see these funny moments. People bring a huge tarp with them, like 5 by 5 meters, a big heavy one, and you know what they try to do? They try to use the tarp as a tent. So they turn this tarp into a wall structure. They set up some poles, use 8 guy lines, some extra ropes. Basically, they create this really complicated shape. And it's like this show. Look how clever we are. We use a tarp in this super clever way, and we recommend it to everyone. But guys, that's a clear mistake. A tarp is one piece of gear. A tent is a completely different piece. So let's talk separately about the tent, what it really is and what it's for. So check out my one-person tent. It's the simplest, cheapest one out there. But here is the thing. It's decent quality and it works perfectly for me. The tent is absolutely key for creating shelter. There is no way around it. But you also have to be smart about it. You can't just grab the first one you see. Let me break it down. Carrying a two-person tent just for yourself is, frankly, a silly move. You're just carrying extra weight. What's the point? See, you have to choose the right tent for the job. To be specific, my tent is more of a summer tent. It's light and simple, but it has a mosquito net, so I can use it both in summer and winter. Really handy. Now here is the important part to understand. For a proper sleep setup, you don't just need a tent. You need a whole system. A sleeping bag is one of the 3 key parts of this system. I use a military sleeping bag and I think it's the best option. But we're not going to go into detail about the sleeping bag right now. I will make a separate video all about the sleeping system. Just one more thing to add about sleeping bags. First, always look at the comfort temperature rating when you are choosing one. And second, pick manufacturers who don't lie. Because a lot of them, especially the cheap brands, put some total unrealistic numbers on there. And you will think you've got a super warm sleeping bag, but in real conditions you will just end up freezing. I've been there myself. And another key point, always pay attention on the insulation. Look, my sleeping bag has synthetic G-Loft insulation. In my opinion, it's one of the best synthetic fills on the market. After the sleeping bag, the next super important item is the sleeping pad. And you wanna know why. Here is the deal. You can have the most awesome top-tier sleeping bag. But if you have a bad pad, no matter what you do, you will still get cold at night. I've got an amazing pad with a really high air value, but we're not going to focus on that today either. So, here is the bottom line. If you want a proper sleep system, you need these 3 things: a decent tent, a good sleeping bag, and a good sleeping pad. These 3 elements together let you create a great shelter in almost any weather. It's a truly functional, logical, and sensible option. Trust me on this. I know exactly what a lot of people will write in the comments, especially stuff like, "Oh, I've slept in the woods by a fire. I put some branch down, made a shelter from sticks, and slept great. No problems at all." And you know what? I believe you. You can do this. But the question is different. How many nights in a row can you do that? Seriously, think about it. How much energy will you spend? Will you actually be able to recover properly with sleep like that? In real conditions, on a real trip, you need to wake up every morning full of energy. You need to be able to keep going. But if you want to test this, let's be real. You don't need to go in the wilderness. Take your car, go somewhere not far, even in your own backyard, in winter or in rain, and try to spend the night like that, without a sleeping bag, without a mat, just on some branches. And you will see how it went, honestly. Now let's look at the real situation. Let's say you're lost in the woods in winter. You can figure out where you are. So you decide, okay, I will build a lean-to to warm up. But let's look at the numbers. How much daylight do you have in winter? About 10 hours at best. And how much time do you need to gather all those sticks, branches and build a shelter? In the best case, that will take you 2 or 3 hours at a minimum. After that, you think, okay, I built a shelter, That means I will get warm now. But here is the catch. Without a fire, you won't get warm at all. You will still freeze. And what's the result? The result is that you choose the wrong survival priorities. Instead of using those 10 hours of daylight to maybe walk and look for a trail or people, you spend a huge amount of energy and time on a shelter. A shelter that is still cold without a fire. This is exactly why I am not a fan of all those videos that show, oh, look how you can spend a night in the woods. Yes, you can do it. But the question is, do you need to do it? That's the most important thing. This is why survival priorities are the most critical thing at all. You have to know how to set them correctly. Now I am going to show you one way to create a shelter. It's a kind of military trick. So check it out step by step. First we take the seed pod I talked about earlier. We place it on the ground right up against a tree. Next, I have this small tarp. I use it as a ground sheet. I lay it over the seed pod and I drape one part of the tarp over the tree itself. After that, I take my backpack and use it as a backrest against the same tree. Now, there is what I've got. I can lean my back against the backpack. That means my back is protected from the wind, so I won't get cold from that. And at the same time, I am sitting on the ground sheet. It's waterproof, so if it starts raining, at least I won't get wet from below. Plus, I'm sitting on the pod, which gives me some basic insulation, so my butt doesn't get cold. It's a start. Next, I take my sleeping bag, but I'm not going to get inside it. I'll use it as a cloak. See, it has a wider part, the shoulder area. I just drape it over myself and zip it up around my chest. Then, on top of that, I put on my favorite poncho. It adds an extra layer of insulation against rain and wind. So, what's the point of this wall combo? The idea is that I can spend the night in relative comfort like this. But at the same time, if the danger appears, I can jump to my feet instantly and be ready to defend myself. The main feature of this method is its mobility. Think about a normal situation. You crawl into your sleeping bag, then into your tent. If danger arises, you basically can't react in time. You won't be able to get out of your bag and grab a weapon quickly enough. But this method is purely military. On one hand, I am somewhat insulated and protected. On the other hand, I can react and move fast. If I need to, I can even get a bit of sleep leaning back on the backpack. So that's the only way I know to make such a quick shelter. Well, it's not really a shelter, it's more of a method for using your gear. Moving on. The next survival priority is fire. Everyone talks about how to start a fire, what tools to use. But I want to draw your attention to something else. Besides a source of flame, like a lighter or match, you absolutely need TINDER, and a lot of people forget this. Even though it's actually the most important part. In real conditions, when it's raining or snowing outside, your first thought should be, what will I use for TINDER? Now, if we are talking about the fire source itself, there are options: a ferro rod, match or lighters. Personally, I prefer lighters. I always carry several, so I have a backup. Usually it's a standard big lighter like this one. And I also really like this super lighter, a turbo lighter made in Japan. It's an awesome piece of gear, it's never let me down. And let's be clear about this, I am completely against all that nonsense you see about starting a fire by friction. No, in real life, in a stressful situation, you won't be able to do it. It's nonsense. So the rule is simple. Always, when you go into the woods, take a proper lighter with you. But at the same time, don't forget to think, why do you need to build a fire? There are only a few main reasons. First, to warm up and dry your clothes. Second, to cook food or boil water. And third, to signal for help. Ask yourself every time, do I need to start a fire right now or not? The next survival priority is water. You can't do without it. No matter what you're doing, you will always need two things: a container to carry water in and a filter to clean it. And here is the thing, in real life, you again can't replace proper gear that's made for this job. You can hack it with stuff you find around you. All those ideas like making a filter from a bandage and some charcoal, that's all, just theories. In practice, it won't work. It's completely nonsense. Don't even waste your energy. So the rule is simple. Always take a proper water bottle and a normal filter with you. And here is a crucial point. Even if you have filtered the water, you still need to boil it. Why? Because if you don't know the source, where the water came from, you can pick up some nasty bacteria. And trust me on this, the absolute worst thing that can happen on a trip is getting diarrhea. After that, your trip is basically over. You will just be completely drained of energy. So, pay special attention to water cleanliness. Both filter it and boil it. These days, there are all kinds of filters and bottles on the market. Choose what you like. And just remember this, you can live without food for about a week, but without water, only a couple of days. So, water is truly a big deal. So, always when you head into the woods or plan a hike, think about one simple thing. Where will you get your water? And keep this in mind, you will need about 2-3 liters of water per person per day. Now think, how much can you actually carry? That's exactly how much you should take. Carrying more than that is pointless. You are not going to carry 10 liters of water for a 3-day trip, right? That's just unrealistically heavy. The key takeaway is this: always plan your road so that you have access to a water source along the way. A river, a stream, a spring. That way, you don't have to carry it all on your back. You can just refill as you go. And I have to say this about all those YouTube water hacks. The ones where you put a bag over the tree branch and wait for condensation. Let me be clear, that's completely nonsense. Don't believe it. Finally, let's look at the last survival priority: food. I always carry stuff like this one. I use it to cook food and boil water. That's all I need. Why? Because on the trail I mainly eat freeze-dried food. It's light and simple. It's a versatile option, especially into the mountains. I also have this cup, it's part of the stove system, and a spoon. But here is the most important thing to understand. You physically can't carry enough food to match the calories that you will burn. You will realistically be hungry a lot of the time. Let me explain why. If you are covering 25-30 kilometers a day, that's 8-10 hours of walking, you will burn about 4,000 calories. And if you translate that into actual food, 4,000 calories is about a kilogram of food. So, for 10-day trips, you will need to carry 10 kilos of food alone. And that's not counting your water and gear. In reality, that's just impossible. So here is the approach I use. If I go on a 10-day trek, I only take food for 5 days. That means for the last 5 days I will essentially be fasting, just drinking tea or coffee. If we are talking about real survival, not a vacation, this is the only way. Well, unless you are a Terminator and can carry a 45-kilogram backpack. But I think that's something very few people can actually do. So when you see all those beautiful videos where someone's out in nature in the mountains and they pull a fresh steak from their backpack, try it on a hot stone, sprinkle on spices, it looks awesome, right? But that's made purely for YouTube. It has nothing to do with real survival or a serious trek. In real life, on a long-distance hike, you will always losing weight. You are always in a calorie deficit. There is no other way. And for the last few days, you are basically just fasting. So, if you are planning a long trip, be ready for a simple fact. For the last few days, you probably won't be eating anything. And that's completely normal situation for a real trek. Alright, let's sum it up. We have looked at the 5 main survival priorities, and my main goal was to explain one simple thing. Each time, depending on the situation, the importance of these priorities can change. That's the real art of survival. It's not just about knowing the rules, but understanding which one to apply right now. That's all from me. Jumbo Brothers, keep in touch.